This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace.
Last year, I went through many different life changes. I needed to take a pause and examine how I was feeling in the inside to better show up for the ones who need me to be my best version of myself.
When you're navigating life's changes, Talkspace can help. Talkspace is the #1 rated online therapy, bringing you professional support from licensed therapists and psychiatry providers that you can access anytime, anywhere.
Living a busy life, navigating a long-distance relationship, becoming a first-step father, Talkspace made all of those journeys possible. I could speak with my therapist in the office. I could speak with my therapist in the comfort of my home. I was never alone.
Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance, no problem. Now get $80 off your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
Levon Paul. He had his father's nose.
Welcome to Still a Part of Us, a place where moms and dads share the story of their child who was stillborn or who died in infancy. I'm Winter.
And I'm Lee. We are grateful you joined us today. Please note that this is a story of loss and has triggers.
Thanks to our lost parents who are willing to be vulnerable and share their children with us.
If you're listening to this podcast, just know that on our YouTube channel there are pictures and videos that are related to the stories that are being shared.
Subscribe and share it with a friend that might need it, and tell them to subscribe. Why? Because people need to know that even though our babies are no longer with us, they're still a part of us. Welcome to Still a Part of Us. We are just so pleased to be here with you for this next new year of recordings, and just so happy that Ellie reached out to us and told us about her son, Levon. So Ellie, welcome. Thank you so much for being brave enough to talk to us and being willing to share his story with us.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, we are just talking to you. I'm looking forward to this conversation. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what your family looks like, and especially at the time when Levon was born.
Yeah, so my family and we live in Alaska. We actually live in a yurt. It's very, very cozy quarters. It's 350 square feet. We have 2 living children. At the time, my daughter was about 3.5, and my son was 1.5 going on 2. And then my husband and our Great Pyrenees dog.
Oh, that sounds so fun. And like you said, kind of cozy.
Yes. Very good.
Were you guys planning on having children? I mean, it sounds like you were planning on a family because you've had a couple of kids before. And were you planning on having a 3rd child?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. No, we've always wanted to have a lot of kids. When we started dating, I think we had been together for maybe 2 months, and I told him that I wanted 5 kids. So we've sort of made good efforts on trying to make that happen. I don't think we'll quite get there just because we're realizing that's a lot. But yes, we've always wanted a big family.
Awesome. And you guys are both from Alaska then?
No, actually, I grew up in Texas,
okay.
And then my husband grew up in Oregon, and we met in New York City.
Whoa, you guys were all over the place.
Yes.
And I guess what brought you to Alaska then?
Work, basically.
Okay.
We were living in New Mexico at the time, and applying for different jobs. My husband got a really great job opportunity, and I'm an attorney, and there was a really great opportunity for me as well. And we got our job offers within, I think, 2 weeks of each other. So.
Oh, fantastic.
And so we moved up here in January 2020, which was a very strange time to be moving somewhere.
No
where
way.
We knew no one. Yeah, we knew no one up here. So it was a strange time to move, but we've been here since then.
Okay. And it's been good. It sounds like.
Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, the winters are definitely long and kind of difficult, but we love our land and our property and the life that we've been able to make here so far. So
yeah, that sounds awesome. What do you guys like to do as a family?
Especially
up in Alaska.
Yeah. I mean, we live in a sort of rural area. We're about 25 minutes from like a medium-sized town where I work. And so we take a lot of walks with the dog. We have chickens. The kids love, feeding the chickens and watching them. My daughter's really into drawing, arts and crafts, just kind of doing stuff, being at home and being able to just kind of enjoy our home is a lot of what we do.
Yeah. That's wonderful. And yeah, I was like, you're in the middle of it too, right? Right now where it's kind of dark and cold outside.
Yes.
And
we're past the solstice though now.
Yes.
So that is when the light starts to come back. So
which is
really, it's a turning point.
Yes, it's good. Okay. So that you guys are from all over the place. You end up in Alaska. And did you have your other kids, in Alaska? You had your other kids in Alaska, right?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. My daughter was born in 2021, and then my first son was born in 2023. Okay.
Awesome. So fun. Okay. So then when you did get pregnant with Levon, was that something you guys are attempting to do? You guys are trying to get pregnant.
Yes. Yeah. No, we were definitely trying. We had struggled with our daughter for about 2 years to get pregnant with her. But then with our first son, it happened like right away. Oh. And then with Levon as well, it was kind of a funny thing because I wasn't really tracking anything. And my cycles are generally longer, but I kind of figured like, oh yeah, like we're good for the month, But then my husband was like, well, let's just like try one more time, just to make sure. And it'd been like 28 days, 29 days or something. And I took a test and it was negative. So I was like, okay, like, I guess like it doesn't, happen this cycle or whatever. But then I think another couple days went by and, I always have to pee a lot whenever I'm pregnant. That's like my first sign. Oh, yeah. And so, I had a little bit of a suspicion. And so I took, another test and it was positive and it, like, because of the timing, it had to have been that time that my husband was like, let's just try one more time. Oh. So it was, I don't know. It's just kind of a funny thing that, like, the last minute, is what made it happen. Yeah. Yeah.
That's kind of fun. So
definitely planned.
Yes. Great. Okay. Perfect. And then, did you tell the kids? Did you tell any of your family?
So it's kind of a funny thing. I told Ian, I actually took a test at work because I was just too anxious to, it was the middle of the day when I sort of started suspecting something. And so I got the positive test at work and then I got home, we were eating dinner and I just kind of looked at him and I was like, so, and he just knew. I didn't actually even say anything. He was like, wait, are you serious? And he was super excited. But the words, like, I'm pregnant, never actually came out. And the kids were sitting there. And at the time, my daughter would have just turned 2. Or, no, just turned 3. Yeah.
Okay.
Just turned 3. And 2 days later, I was wearing a dress. And hadn't said anything to her, had not talked about it at all in front of her. And she just
really, it's only like a handful of days after, right?
No, like I'm not showing her anything, no. And she lifts up my dress and she says, baby in your tummy. And I was just like, oh my God. Like, and it's just kind of a big part of the story because I really feel like my daughter and Levon had some kind of special connection with each other because literally, I had only known for 2 days and had not said anything about it in front of her. And she just knew. She already knew that he was there. So,
oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was really special. And we ended up telling her, a couple days after that. And she was pretty involved in just like asking about her little brother and asking about, what was happening. And my son, I think, was very into my tummy. Like, he loved laying on my tummy and holding my tummy and wanted to do belly time and stuff, but was, younger. So I don't think he totally grasped exactly what was happening.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's so sweet. Like, it
was very, very cute.
Yeah, your daughter is like all about it. So,
yeah.
Okay. And then, so one of the signs you said was that you had to pee a lot.
Yeah.
But how else did you feel during the pregnancy?
I was pretty nauseous and really tired. I think the combination of having the 2 little ones plus being pregnant was definitely a lot in those early days. Yeah.
Yeah. And But generally, like everything, you didn't, no bleeding or anything like that.
No,
Everything
no.
was okay in general. So.
Yeah, no, like no issues there. I did have an ectopic pregnancy before I got pregnant with my daughter, so I'm always a little bit nervous until we
Yes.
get to that first ultrasound and make sure that everything is where it's supposed to be. But no, everything was going good.
Okay. And did you get into your OBGYN early
So
on? I just don't know, like when you say you're rural, because that's always a little tricky. It was like, where is your provider and how long, how far away is that? Yeah.
Yeah, so there are providers about 30 minutes away, but the better hospitals are about an hour away. And so we've gotten all of our care through midwives, actually.
Okay.
And so for Levon's pregnancy as well, I also went through the same midwife agency that I went through for my firstborn son.
Okay.
And so it was 3 midwives that, have an alternating practice, and you kind of see everyone and get to know everyone. And then whoever's on call for your birth is the person that you're with.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's kind of an interesting part of the story as well, because the midwife who was there when my daughter was born had actually moved from her agency to the agency that we were at. And so I really knew her very well because she was there for my very first, or my pregnancy with my daughter. So I think we went in maybe around 7 or 8 weeks or so. They usually try to get me in early because of the history of the ectopic pregnancy, just to make sure that everything's good. So yeah.
And everything was okay at that time.
Yeah, everything was good. Like the only thing that, you analyze everything.
Yep.
The only thing that kind of stood out is that I remember at first he was measuring like a little bit smaller at that point than it would have been for my dating. But I kind of figured, well, I know that I ovulated later because of all that testing. So it's probably, all
just
fine.
because of, okay. Okay. That sounds good. Okay. So everything was good. Little bit of sickness, it sounds like.
Yes.
And just going along, they don't really, so how often would you see the midwives?
Similar to an OBGYN practice.
Okay, great.
Yeah, midwives are really common up here. And so starting off early, you would see them like every 4 weeks, just like you would with an OBGYN. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So, and then just tell us how the pregnancy progresses. How are you feeling? And then do you go in for kind of a major, like, do you guys probably have a 20-week ultrasound scheduled or so?
Yeah, they outsource that to, a sonogram place. But I was feeling pretty good. We did the genetic testing at 10 weeks to find out whether it was a boy or a girl.
Okay.
And that was, I think it's kind of a difficult part of his story for me. But it is part of the story. My daughter, being my firstborn, is super independent, very like self-sufficient.
Yeah.
My husband, I still talk about how when she was a baby, like before she could move, you could just lay her on the bed and she would look up at the ceiling and entertain herself for like half an hour. And like, she was just in her own little world a lot. And then my firstborn son just needed a lot more like physical, like wanted to be held a lot, wanted to be interacted with, was kind of constantly moving from one thing to the next. Like, and it was a lot more challenging for me. And it took a lot more kind of out of me. I think I was, I had like a 1.5-year-old when he was born, and then also him. And I think in my mind, I started to think like girls are just easier, which is totally not true at all. But I think in my head, I was feeling really overwhelmed. I was like, oh my goodness, we're going to have 3 kids in the yurt, 3 kids under 4 years old. Right. It would be a lot easier if this was another girl who was a little bit more, like self-sufficient. It sounds terrible. But that is kind of how I was feeling about it. And so, when I learned that he was a boy, it was a struggle for me. Not for long. It was like maybe a couple of days, but there was kind of some of that worrying, like,
How is this all going to work?
Is this going to be really hard? Is he going to be the same as his big brother, like just running around and crawling at 5 months and getting into everything, And so that was, part of things. But my kids were super excited about having a little brother. Mm-hmm. My husband was super excited. I mean, he would have been excited either way, but, and so, yeah, everything was going good. And we had the anatomy scan. Everything looked good. Things
on
were
that one as well. On the genetic testing, nothing came back.
Everything was like low risk. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
Okay, so anatomy scan looks good. And was your husband able to be there? I don't know. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No, he tries to make it to like pretty much all the appointments. There were probably a few in there that he wasn't able to make it to, but he's really good about being there for those.
Okay,
yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so that's about second trimester. How are you feeling during that time? Did you get a little less nauseous?
No, I definitely did. I think it lifted maybe around 10 or 11 weeks.
Okay,
or so.
good.
So things were better. I am lucky, I don't have like really long lasting nausea or anything. And then the kind of, so what actually happened right before the anatomy scan is I went to Hawaii, which I had never been to before. And it's a really common place for Alaskans to go, especially in the wintertime, because it's like a 6-hour flight, complete opposite of what Alaska's like.
Yep.
And many people kind of plan a trip to somewhere warm in the wintertime as a way to kind of break up the winter months. But I had never been before, and my husband has kind of taken a couple of trips where, he's gone hunting or he's had a work trip that, he kind of extended, and just had some time where he got to go away by himself, even if it wasn't always for super fun things. And so in the fall, I had told him, like, I'm going to take a trip by myself. And I had never been away from my son, and I had only been away from my daughter for maybe one night since she was born. And so, so I was planning on taking like a solo trip, I guess. And my husband said, you should just go to Hawaii and sit on a beach and not do anything. Because I was originally thinking, I'll go do, some kind of like activity, or I'll go do something.
Yeah.
You just need to go and relax. And so that's what I ended up doing. But it ended up being, at the time I was thinking about it as this solo trip. But after Levon died, I realized like, he was there with me the whole time. Yeah. And so it was actually sort of this special memory for me, in that was really special time that we got to be together. It was when I started feeling him move more. I had this memory of my very first day there. I've been wearing like coats over sweaters, over long sleeves. Like, your skin does not see the sun for 6 months. And I go to a beach and I have a bikini and I have my belly, and like just feeling the sun on my skin and feeling him move. It was just such a beautiful moment. Like, I know that he felt, all those good feelings too and stuff, and had to go snorkeling in the ocean with all the fish. And so it's just something that I look back on now as I'm really grateful that I had that time, even though at the time, again, I was thinking about it as just for myself. I am really glad that he was there with me.
Yeah, that is so neat that you got to do a mommy son date like that. Yeah. I mean, basically a trip. Yeah. That's really great. I'm glad you were able to do that too, because that sounds magical.
It was really nice.
Okay. So let's talk about, did you, I'm sure you have all the stuff that you have for your other son, so you probably didn't have a baby shower or anything like that.
No, I don't think we even did a baby shower for my firstborn son, because it's like we got so much stuff for the firstborn. Yeah, I think the only thing was, I'll have to get a car seat at some point. Yeah. But we already had all the things.
Okay, Awesome. And then you're just going along. How are the rest? So we're starting to probably get a little bit more often in your visits with the midwives. How are those looking? And are you feeling any changes or anything different?
Everything was really pretty standard and normal until I was probably about 28 weeks is kind of when I start noticing a little bit of a change. I always gain a lot of weight whenever I'm pregnant. I'm like a 50, 60 pounder.
Okay.
And it's just kind of how it goes.
That's what it is.
And I was originally on track to kind of do that with Levon as well. And I had my sister's wedding in April of 2025. And I was kind of nervous about it because I was like, I was in the wedding, I was one of her bridesmaids, and I was going to have to be in front of a crowd of people. And I just already felt super uncomfortable and like huge and just, I just did not feel very good. But that wedding also ended up being like a really nice memory. I got to see all my family. All my family saw me, super pregnant. We got a babysitter for the kids for after the ceremony. And so my husband and I got to dance, which
good.
like never get to do anymore. And we really love dancing. So we were like dancing on the dance floor, huge belly and everything. But it was kind of around that time where I started noticing that I was not gaining any weight. Yeah. So I had gotten a gym membership. And so I was sort of weighing myself more regularly than I had been previously in other pregnancies because I didn't have a membership before then or anything. And so starting around 28 weeks, I noticed I just stopped gaining weight. And I also had, middle of April, I came back from the wedding, I had an appointment, and I know I mentioned to my midwife, because they asked, are you feeling him move and everything? Yeah. And I said, yeah, I'm definitely feeling him move every day, but it does feel like it's less. And the response I got was, as long as you're feeling him move every day, it's okay. And we moved on. And then I think I was, maybe 2 weeks later, we had another appointment and it was with one of the different midwives. And I mentioned again, oh yeah, definitely feeling a move every day, but I do feel like it's less, and kind of got the same response. That's, that's totally fine. As long as, he's just running out of space, I think is something
is what they said.
Heard.
Yeah. So that was probably around 30 weeks or so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. End of April, beginning of May.
Okay.
So I'm a trial attorney and I am a criminal defense attorney. And so I represent people whenever they're charged with crimes. And so I had a trial that was supposed to start on May 12th. And so I had been really stressed out and really busy getting ready for this trial. But kind of beginning of May is when it was really, really amping up. And there was one of the days where I was in the office and it was around lunchtime and I just I didn't think I had really felt him move that morning. So I called the midwife office and she said, okay, eat something, lay down, drink some water or whatever, and just kind of focus on, if you count, see how many kicks you get in 2 hours or something.
Okay.
And so I did that. And within 30 minutes, he had gotten 16 kicks or something. He immediately responded basically.
Okay.
Once I did that. But we had this morning where it had been really quiet. And so the midwife checked in on me and I told her that. And she was like, oh yeah, okay. I'm really reassured by that. And, call us back if you guys, if you have any questions or anything. So then that was probably around May 4th or so, May 5th. And the next week I had another appointment. It was my 32-week appointment. I wasn't quite 32 weeks yet, so I guess it was a couple days before that. And I met with another another one of the midwives. Mm-hmm. And, same thing. This was on Tuesday, or on a Tuesday. And, again, beginning of the appointment, are you feeling baby move? Yeah, but, it does feel like it's overall less, and kind of got the same feedback that that's totally normal. It's okay. As long as you're, as long as you're feeling them every day, everything is okay.
And a really quick question about the weight thing. I know that you've been weighing yourself. Were you being weighed at those appointments, and had anybody so no weight on those ones? So
no, they don't really routinely ask you to weigh yourself. It happens a couple times throughout the pregnancy, but it's not something that they're monitoring that closely.
Yeah.
But So I had that appointment on Tuesday, and then I left, and then I thought, I haven't gained any weight in a month now, because now it had been, 4 weeks.
Right.
And so I actually ended up calling the office back to talk with her and mention it to her. And I said, I just realized like I haven't gained any weight in a month. And she was like, yeah, that can be normal, so that was, again, kind of the response that I got.
Okay.
That can be normal. So then, I think I had like a prenatal massage that day. I went and got a massage, trying to just kind of de-stress from the work stuff. Yeah. And then on Thursday of that week, again, I'm getting ready for a trial that's going to happen on the following Monday, just super busy with work. Just really stressed out with that stuff. But Thursday night, my husband and I were sitting on the couch, and I felt what was probably like 3 or 4 kind of contractions. I mean, they were not painful. I've been in labor twice. It was not, and usually my contractions in labor come on super strong. It was not hardly anything, but it did seem to have a rise and a fall. And so it didn't feel like Braxton Hicks, where it was just a tightening. And so I kind of timed them when I sort of noticed what was happening, but then they went away. I had those 3 or 4 Thursday night, and then nothing.
Okay.
And Friday, again, just really busy with work. Yeah, was very focused on my job. Came home, went to sleep. The next day was Saturday. It was my birthday. And my husband is currently building us a house, while working a full-time job.
Wow.
And he's doing it completely by himself.
Oh,
and
my goodness.
Yeah. So a lot of the times our weekends are him working on the house, and we have a couple of babysitters that, I'll like try to ask to come maybe a couple times a month, just so I can have some time on the weekends so that he can work on the house, and like I can kind of, just do a couple things for myself. And so I had asked one of our sitters to come on my birthday so that I could, just have a couple hours to go do something by myself. And then I was going to come back, and we were going to kind of celebrate my birthday in the afternoon. And so we woke up that morning. My husband made me French toast. We all had French toast. My daughter was insistent that we put a candle in my French toast and sing happy birthday to me. And we were sitting eating breakfast, and it was only, maybe 8:30 or 9. But I was like, I don't think like I've really felt him yet today. But I really didn't think too much of it. And so the babysitter came, and I think she got there around 10. And I decided that I was going to drive into Anchorage, which is about an hour away. That's like the big city near us. Mm-hmm. And there was this like local artist market that was going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
My dad sent me some money for my birthday, and I was like, I'll just go try to check out this little arts and crafts thing, maybe get a coffee and come home. And the sitter was going to, basically be there during the kids' nap. So I'd be home for when the kids woke up. And I said, okay, I'll just spend the hour drive just kind of paying attention and seeing if I feel anything.
Okay.
And so I did that, and I still didn't feel anything. But honestly, I like didn't feel that worried. I don't know. Like I've had 2 kids, like everything has been
fine.
Again, a lot of the stuff about the weight and the slowed down movement is in retrospect. Like that was not stuff that was top of mind for me. I had mentioned it to my providers, and I had been told like that can be normal. And I've been seeing these people for, a whole other pregnancy. And then I also knew one of the midwives really well because she had seen me in my other pregnancy as well. And so there was a lot of trust in what they were saying. And so it wasn't really, I guess, hitting me, at least in my brain.
Yes.
So I went to the market, and, it's funny now because the things that I bought that day are things that are extremely special to me now. because that's the day that I learned that he died. So, still at the market, I'm walking around, I'm paying attention, but I'm not, super tuned to what's happening. Yeah. And then, I decide, okay, I'm going to go get a latte, and I guess I'll call the midwife, or, because of course caffeine, of course, I'll get something out of that. And so I went and got an iced latte, sat outside. It was one of the first sunny days. May is when things really start to warm up, and usually, sometimes it's June, but usually May is when we start to get some warm days. And it was a beautiful summer day. Sat outside, drank my latte, still felt nothing. So I started driving in the direction of my house, but I called the midwife, the on-call midwife, because it was a Saturday. And, I told her, I don't think I felt him move. And I already did the stuff that it was the same midwife who I had talked to a week before.
Right. Okay.
When I had kind of the morning where I hadn't felt anything. And I said, I already did all the things that you advised me to do last time, and I'm really worried. And I hadn't realized that I was worried until the words just kind of came out.
Gotcha.
And I got pretty emotional at that point. And she said, okay, why don't you just go ahead and come into the clinic, and we'll just check on him and just make sure that everything's okay. So I called my husband, and told him, I'm just going to go get checked. I'm sure everything's fine. And I know I said that to him. And he offered, to come, and I was like, it's fine. I'm sure everything's fine. I'll just go get checked, and I'll feel better, and then we can just enjoy our afternoon, you know, and the kids are napping right now. I don't want you to have to wake them up. And so he said, okay, if you're sure, and I'm like, yeah, I'm sure it's fine. And it didn't feel like a lie.
Yeah,
I don't know. I still believed, even though I had just said to the midwife, I'm really worried, still in my brain in the moment, I still felt I'm sure it's fine, So I drove to the clinic, and the midwife was already there, and she let me in. And we went into one of the rooms where they have an NST machine. And she started trying to, hook me up to it. I've never had one before, so I didn't really know
what was
happening.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So an NST is a non-stress test machine that, they just tracks the heartbeat, essentially, right?
Yep. And so she put it on, and just wasn't finding anything. But I really just thought that the machine, there was something wrong with the machine.
Yeah.
And at some point she said, oh, I found it. And so I even texted my husband, oh, okay, everything's fine. We're just going to stay on the machine for a little bit now. But then it fell off again. And then she just kind of kept messing with it. And I really just thought, honestly, she's one of the newer midwives. She's younger. I kind of just thought she doesn't really know how to work the machine.
Yeah.
But then I don't remember exactly, but something changed where she may have said, I think we should go to triage, or maybe she's the one that suggested getting out the handheld Doppler. I don't quite remember, but either she suggested it, or I said, can we just check on the Doppler?
Yeah.
And so then she pulled out the Doppler, and she couldn't find anything. And that's kind of when I started to freak out, but I still wasn't registering. I was like, can you get the ultrasound machine? Because they have a little
just the
push card ultrasound thing. And she said, yeah, of course. And so she went and got that, and she, pulled it up, and I could see him, and, I didn't see any flickering or anything. But it still didn't really register, and she wasn't really saying anything. She was looking at the ultrasound machine, and then kind of looking at me, and then looking back, and then looking at me. And I said, did you see it? And she said, no. And I said, you should have seen it, right? You should have seen his heartbeat. And she's like, I think we should go to triage now. And so I was like, okay, and I think it was at that point that I called my husband. I don't really remember what I said. Probably something that was like, they can't find his heartbeat or, but I don't really remember. And so I drove in my car and followed the midwife to the hospital, which is like a 5-minute drive away.
Okay.
And then my husband was like, okay, I'm coming. And he was going to wake up the kids and start driving down. And so we got checked into triage and I was in a room, and I remember my husband called me and he was like, just tell him to do an emergency C-section, So we had a neighbor, who a couple years ago, they went in for, I think, decreased movement or just being worried about something. Yeah. And their baby was still alive at that time. And they ended up doing an emergency C-section at, I think, 38 weeks or something. The baby did not live. But I think that's kind of where my husband's mind was at. Like, right.
There's still a chance, kind of a
thing. Like there's some problem, just do an emergency C-section. And so I ended up like calling the midwife over and being like, let's just do a C-section, and she was like, we have to like do the ultrasound to make, like, we have to figure out what's happening first. And so again, like, it still had not registered in my brain because no one had said anything. No one had said like, he's, not here anymore yet. But eventually they brought in, and the OBGYN is the one who has to make the call at the hospital. Right. And so they brought in an OBGYN, and my husband was with me on the phone in the car by that point with the kids. And so I just had him on speaker, and the OB, just said like, I'm not seeing a heartbeat. And I just started crying, and my husband, like understood what had happened at that point. And then they had to, find a second person to confirm. So they had a second OBGYN come in, and she said, I'm a maternal fetal medicine specialist. Would you like me to just kind of take a look on the ultrasound and see if I see anything? And I said, sure. And she said, I like, all I can say is that, like, I think this probably happened, in the last like day or two. Like, I think it's very recent. And I said, okay. And, the midwife was still there with me. She was in the room with me, and she asked me, do you want, Megan to come? And Megan was the midwife who was, at my daughter's birth.
Yeah.
And I told her yes, 'cause she's definitely the midwife that I have the closest relationship with and that I've just known for the longest. And my daughter's birth was a pretty crazy birth.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We had like all these plans of having like a water birth at the birth center and, all this stuff. And I ended up being in labor with her for like 18 hours. Oh. I pushed for like 6 hours. She was not coming out, basically. And so we ended up having to transfer to the hospital and have an emergency C-section with her.
Wow.
Which was like, just very traumatic, very scary. Yes. She was not doing good when she was born. Like, she made a very quick recovery once she was out, but it was like very scary. And Megan was there for me through that. And so, I just wanted Megan there, and I really didn't know this other midwife that well. And so Megan ended up coming, and I think she got there after my husband and kids had gotten there. And the moment when they walked into the room was really hard. And I could just tell like they were still sleepy because they had been napping, and they both like crawled up on the hospital bed with me, and my daughter just looked very worried. And, I asked my husband, like, did you tell them? And he said, not yet. And so I just looked at my daughter and I said, like, your little brother died. And she started crying right away. Like, she understood. We had a dog that got hit by a car like about a year before Levon died. And they were there for that, unfortunately. We had like a burial for her, and we talk about her, and they know that she was here at one point and now she's not. And so I think that they actually understand death on a bigger level than other children their age. And just the fact that she started crying right away. It's like she gets it. So that was devastating. We were told, like, you can get induced today or you can go home. And there was just no way in my mind that I could do it that day. And that's what I told them. So we left one of our cars at the hospital and we drove home together. My husband had told my mom, I never told her. So he told her, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Somewhere on the drive down, I think, told her. And then when we were driving home, he called his mom and told her. And, we got home and it was, I talk a lot about like the weather, but it's such an important part of Levon's story because for so much of the year, it's like snowy, icy, cold, gray. There's beautiful winter days too. I mean, when the sun comes out and glints on the snow, it's beautiful, but there's nothing like when summer comes because it's just such a, like, you start to come alive again.
Yes. Yeah.
And the thing that I always said about Levon is he's going to be my summer baby because he was due on July 4th. Yeah. It was like height of summer. And that day was like the first summer day. I mean, it was just so beautiful. When we got home, everything's green. There's plants are going, it was warm. And it was pretty hard, feel like coming home to that and feeling how nice it was. But just this strange feeling of like, what just happened?
Yeah.
And, so we started trying to figure out, like, what are we going to do with the kids while, like, whenever we go in and have him, because we don't have any family up here. And I didn't think that it was a good idea for them to be there, like, during the birth,
right.
Or like, during labor and everything. I couldn't imagine them being there while I was trying to labor and everything. And so I called this woman. She is the mother of two boys at our daycare. Our kids go to the same daycare. Yeah. And we had been working on building a friendship, but I think we had maybe hung out like 2 or 3 times before this. And so I didn't know her that well, but for some reason, she was the person that came to my mind when I thought, who can I ask to take care of our kids for, what will probably be like a night, like probably like 24 hours, that we'll need help. And I just called her and she answered, like, which is also, I feel like, a rare thing in this world.
Yeah, it is.
And, I said, like, the baby died and, like, I'm going to have to go in and have him. And we're thinking about doing it on Monday or Tuesday. And, like, can you watch our kids? And she said, I think she started crying and she said, of course, and was just so kind and generous about it. And she ended up coming over later that day, actually, and brought us some groceries and she brought me some fresh flowers from a local farm. She's a farmer. And so she like knows all the farming people, but she brought me some flowers and groceries and like pads and stuff like that, which I, had not really even thought about, like had not even thought, oh yeah, like I'm going to need all that stuff. And, so she just brought over like a little care package for us that night, which was really sweet. And, we just kind of started trying to get ready. I think pretty quickly we decided that we would go in on Monday. Our plan was to take the kids to daycare Monday morning, and then they would, be taken care of during the day. And then my friend would pick them up Monday with her kids, and they would spend the night at her house on Monday night. And then we'd get them, sometime Tuesday. And one thing that I have done for all of my kids before they've been born is I've made them a little blanket. And I really like knitting and sewing. And I've made my other 2 kids a quilt. And for Levon, I was like, well, I have plenty of time. He's not due for another 2 months. And so I have time, or, a month and a half. And so I have time to make him something. But that Saturday, I was like, well, I still have to make him a blanket. And so I started working on a quilt for him.
You did?
Yeah. I mean, they're really small.
No, but still.
They're babies, so it's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I just started working on a quilt for him. And that was what I spent, the next day and a half doing, was working on this quilt. And I had some seashells from the time in Hawaii, and I sewed one of the seashells on it, and I embroidered his name on there, and also embroidered some song lyrics that just kind of made me think about him as well. And so I did that, and somehow we got through that day and a half. I know the next day was also another beautiful summer day, and the kids are still kids, and they're not thinking about it exactly the way that we are, even though I'm sure that they're picking up on our feelings and everything. And so we just spent some time with them. And then Monday we went and dropped them off at daycare, and we started driving down to the hospital to get induced, basically. And one thing that I forgot to say is that I had asked Megan at the hospital, I don't know when you're on call next, but will you be the midwife at this birth? And she said, of course. And so I don't know if she had to rearrange her schedule or not to be there, but she met us at the hospital for the induction. And I think we got there around 10 o'clock or so. And so I had a C-section with my daughter, but then I did have a VBAC with my son.
Okay.
And so my plan was to have another VBAC with Levon as well. My plan also was to do it without any pain medication.
Okay.
Ever since I've been a little kid, I've had it in my mind. Whenever I have kids, I'm not going to have medication.
Natural. Yeah.
But that's how my mom did it, and she always sort of wore it a little bit like a badge of honor. And so I think I kind of took that on as well. And things did not go that way at all with my daughter, obviously. I wound up with a C-section. So I'm definitely a little bit disillusioned by the idea that just because you want something to go a certain way that it will go that way. But I was able to do that with my son, and I really wanted to have that with Levon as well. So my induction went a little bit differently because I've had a C-section. You're not supposed to have the other stuff that they used to do inductions. They had to do a Foley balloon with me.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yes. Rather than hormone.
The Pitocin. Yeah. The other
well,
medication.
I got Pitocin later, but there's another misoprostol.
Yeah. Misoprostol.
Yeah. So I'm not supposed to have that. But anyway, we started the Foley balloon, and then also, added in Pitocin as well. And there was sort of an option we could just start with the Foley balloon and not do Pitocin, but it will take longer.
Yeah.
And at first, I was I don't know that I can just sit around and wait for something to happen. I am kind of eager now that we're here for things to get going. But looking back, I do kind of wish that I had just slowed things down and not rushed it. Yeah. And I think maybe I'm in the minority here, but I think for me, it was the birth is the only experience that Levon and I are going to get to have together. And it's not totally accurate, right? We had the pregnancy and everything, but it felt really important to me, and it felt very momentous. But I also felt once we were at the hospital, there was kind of this pressure to get it going and make it happen. And I just wish I had been able to kind of slow it down a little bit.
I see. Okay.
But we started that, and I think it was maybe early afternoon or so when I realized we didn't bring any clothes for him.
Oh.
Just again, I brought this quilt, I brought his ultrasound pictures to have. And I brought, so one thing that I like to make is this dandelion balm. We have dandelions that grow all around, like many people, but in the summertime, they're super plentiful, and I'll make this really moisturizing balm that my kids love, and it's great for like diaper rash and just dry skin and all kinds of stuff. And so I brought that with the idea, like maybe I could put some on him, but I did not remember to bring an outfit for him.
Yeah.
And at the hospital, they said that they had some stuff, but the outfit, they really only had like one or two outfits, and they were both very formal, like almost something that you would wear for a baptism or something. Mm-hmm. And it just didn't feel like us. Yeah. And so I told my husband, I was like, you have to go find an outfit. Like, I'm sorry, but like, we need to have an outfit for him here. And again, like, we don't have family. Like, I didn't feel like there was anyone that we could ask to go to our house and like go rippling through all of our baby clothes and try to find something for him. And so I felt really bad for him, but I was just like, I have to have something to put on the sun.
Maybe, yeah.
And so kind of like in the middle of me being induced, he went out and like came back with, I think, 25 outfits. Like, he was like, I didn't know what to get. So, which was really, really sweet. And yes, very, very sweet. And he, so we like found something that we liked for him to wear. And we also, got the pamphlets, like when we were still being induced, on like, here's a list of funeral homes to call and stuff like that. And so my husband took care of that. He like went out in the hallway and called places and started trying to figure some of that out. And it was probably like around 6:00 or so at night when I started feeling like things were amping up.
Okay.
And I texted my husband. I was like, are you almost here? And he was like just pulling into the hospital again. So it was perfect timing for him to get back. And he was only gone for maybe like an hour and a half. And I called my mom during that time and just talked to her like pretty briefly. But he came back, and that was kind of when contractions were really starting to pick up. And I went to the bathroom, and the Foley balloon fell out, which is kind of the step that you're moving into active labor at that point. And so, I mean, from the time that Ian got back, things were pretty intense. I had a playlist that I had made for my firstborn son, like a birth playlist or whatever. It's all pretty soothing stuff. And so I had Ian put that on, and was just kind of moving between the bed and the bathroom and back again, which is pretty typical for me. And I think it was around, I don't remember exactly what time it was, but at some point, like, I had come back from being in the bathroom and laid down on the bed, and my water broke.
Okay.
And I felt him move down. Like, I could tell, like, he was about to be born. And that was when I wished I had slowed this down, because this actually went really fast. And once he's out, like, it's over. Like, he's not, like, I'm not pregnant with him anymore. And, I really just kind of wish that I could have paused there, but you can't. And your body does what it's meant to do. And so he came out, and my husband caught him just like he caught our other son, and, brought him up to my chest. And, I mean, we were just crying and screaming. And we had told the midwife, like, we really just want to be left alone after he's born, at least at first. And so, I don't know, she retreated somewhere into the background there and was really respectful and kind. And we just looked at him, and I don't know, I really wanted to see his face, like, because at first it was hard because my husband was like leaning over, because he was holding, like, kind of holding his face. And I was like, I want to see him, and so I was able to look at him, and that's when I could tell, like, he had my husband's nose, and he looked a lot like my husband, and had darker hair than my other kids did. My husband and I both have dark hair, but I also had blonde hair when I was a kid. So for now, both of my 2 living children, their hair's blonde, but
Their hair's blonde.
Levon's hair was darker. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, he was born at 10 o'clock, and, so, less than 12 hours.
Yeah.
Or I guess about 12 hours after we officially started the induction. So it was pretty quick. And I mean, he really came out in like one push because he was still pretty tiny.
Yeah.
And we, spent our time with him at the hospital and just, I don't know, tried to, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like you try to be a parent to him in those moments.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, we sang to him, we held him. We put his little outfit on him. I did not end up doing the balm on him because his skin was it just felt very fragile. And I was just worried about, I don't know, I just didn't want to hurt him. They did have molds that they did, like the little foot impressions. And so we got foot impressions of him, of his feet, and those are really sweet, but it was kind of hard to like watch them do it. It just felt, I'm really glad that we did it, but it also was, you have to be like kind of forceful. And you
do. Yeah.
I don't know. I just didn't. Yeah. It's hard. Like everything's a little bit of a balance between wanting to create those memories and then also just trying so hard to take care of their bodies, and they're so fragile. And so,
how much did he end up weighing?
So he was 3 pounds and 9 ounces, which I've like done a little bit of research on, and like is small for that gestation, for 32 weeks. It's in the range of normal. It's not like, but I think it's in the 10 to 20th percentile.
Okay. So definitely on the lower end. Okay.
Yes. Which is, again, different than with my other 2 kids. My son was almost 9 pounds when he was born, in like the 100th or 90th percentile or something. And my daughter was a little bit more average, but still, like, I think was 7 pounds, 8 ounces.
Yeah.
So that definitely plays a little bit into my, like, theories about what may have led to him dying. I don't
Can I ask you a question about how you guys decided on his name?
Oh, yeah. So we have named all of our kids some kind of variation of a family name. Levon's is a little bit different. So Levon Paul, Paul is my grandfather's name.
Okay.
And he is someone that is just a legend in our family. He is like, he's a legend of a person, honestly. He's really kind. He's funny. He's generous. He's thoughtful. He's sweet. He's a really good man, and him and my grandma were very important to me and are very important to me. My mom and dad were not together when I was little. They broke up when I was about a year old. And so my grandparents were very involved. My mom was only 23 when she had me. And so my grandparents almost acted as second parents, and I've just always been very, very close with them. And so naming Levon partially after my grandpa was really important. And that name has been in every generation in my family. And so I have an uncle who's my Uncle Paul, and then his name, or his son, they've used Paul as a middle name. And then so we also included it as a middle name for Levon's name. And so that's where Paul came from. And then Levon is kind of the creative use of a family name. So his name is inspired by a musician named Levon Helm, who is what was in the band called The Band. And my husband grew up with his mother, who was very influential on his music tastes and stuff. And The Band was a band that she played a lot for him growing up. She was a single mom. He spent a lot of time, just him and his mom. They lived in a cabin together for several years, just like out in the woods together. So this music is just like part of his family history, in a really deep way. And it's also his mom ultimately found a partner when my husband was a teenager, and the music's also like a really big part of his history with his mom's partner. And so it's just part of their family, and it's a band that he introduced me to and that we both really love. And so that's where Levon came from.
That's
but
cool.
It feels like a family name, but just kind of a different way.
Oh, no, there's attachment there. And I think that's awesome. That's so cool. That's a really cool history.
Yeah.
When you guys, were you feeling okay after the actual delivery? Like any tearing or no issues with the placenta coming out or anything?
Yeah. Everything came out and everything looked good. I mean, not everything looked good, but it was like everything was, I had no physical issues after the birth.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm actually curious, did they say anything about seeing anything when Levon was born?
Not really.
Okay.
So my midwife had concerns about the placenta maybe looking like a different color than she was expecting it.
Okay.
But she later consulted with a pathologist who said that's just because, by that point he had, been dead for probably unclear exactly, but like at least 2 days, right? Because I went in on Saturday and then didn't have him until Monday. And so that was not that wasn't of concern.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So nothing super evident of what had happened. So
no, I mean, he was beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so little too. Like he just.
Yeah. He was so little. Yeah. It's, something that I kind of forgot to mention is that my daughter has a baby doll that was my baby doll when I was little, and she got very into it over the course of the pregnancy and taking care of the baby doll. And the baby doll is like 12 inches, which is exactly how big Levon was as well. So it's just like kind of strange. Like they've seen those baby dolls still, because my son also got really, really wanted a baby doll. Because his big sister had a baby doll. And so my mom ended up finding the exact same baby doll. They still make it. And so my son had one as well. And they both would carry, the summer after Levon died, they both carried around their baby dolls, nonstop.
Goodness.
Yeah. And my son would tuck his baby doll into his t-shirt.
Oh.
And walk around with like baby carrying. Yeah. It was very, very
the sweetest.
Yeah. Yeah.
But also I'd just be crying the entire time.
They were both so ready to have like another little sibling to take care of. Yeah. And it is hard, we often talked about how we just got the timing perfect because all the kids were going to be basically 2 years apart. And Levon was like right on track with that, and so, it was really sad to see them lose that as well.
When you were in the hospital, I know you already kind of mentioned some things that you did with Levon. Were you planning on having anybody meet him, your kids or other? I know that you don't have family there. I just was wondering if that was in the plan or anything.
Yeah, I don't think that we had explicitly ruled it out one way or the other before he was born. But he ended up being born at 10 o'clock and we said goodbye to him a couple hours after that. And I, again, I wish that it's never enough time. No. I don't think it ever would have been enough time, but I did feel kind of some pressure to not hurry things up. Like, I don't know, but it was, it just felt a little bit rushed. And so I wasn't going to have, my friend wake up our kids in the middle of the night and drive them an hour. It didn't feel like it made sense for them to come. And there's no one up here that I would have,
trusted and felt comfortable asking of that.
Yeah. And I think honestly, even if we had family here, it probably would have been hard for my husband and I to let anyone into that space with us. It was it felt so limited and so raw that I think even if my mom had, lived next door, I'm not sure that we would have been able to have anyone there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you able to take any pictures or, okay.
No, we did take some pictures. I think my husband at first was like hesitant about that, but that was something that I actually knew before he was born that I wanted to do. And I didn't do any reading. I didn't do any Googling. Like, it was just something in my mind that I said, I want to take at least one picture of him.
Yes.
And my husband actually is the one that took all the pictures after he was born. He just kind of ended up like spontaneously taking some. And it's a little sad because we don't have any of him and Levon. But again, like, I just don't think that your brain's working.
No.
I wish now that we had taken, 1,000 pictures.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things that you're trying to do the best that you can.
Yes.
And I really don't think that your brain works the way that you kind of want it to. And that is something that, I wish that the people who had been there had been able to find a way to help guide us there, gentle suggestions of stuff of what maybe we might want down the road. Because I think if someone might have been able to put it in my head, like, might want to, take pictures of his feet or take pictures of his hands or, it's just little things that I wish people had kind of done. I think it would have been really nice to be able to hear that from someone. But
yeah, a little bit of guidance is always helpful. Yeah, because you're like, I agree. Your brain kind of shuts off and you are just going from moment to moment and surviving. So that is hard. You mentioned earlier that your husband had reached out to different funeral homes and such. I'm assuming somebody came in and started talking to you about that and trying to tidy all that information up at some point in time.
There was, it was a little bit strange because, so the way that it works, at least at this hospital, is like there's the laboring rooms and then there's the after
post
labor rooms. Yeah. And so we decided to say goodbye to him before I got transitioned to that other room.
Okay.
Which again, like,
feeling a little bit rushed.
I just feel, I'm like, why did we not, spend that time with him? And it's hard to, like, honestly let go of those feelings.
So nobody really talked to you guys about, like, this is how much time you could have.
No, I do remember someone saying, like, you can have as much time as you want, but it just, I don't know. It didn't feel that way. And it also is really hard time to spend together. Yeah. And, we were not told about a cuddle cot. I don't think that that's something that we would have been able to do for ourselves. Honestly, I don't know. Like, we were like obsessed with keeping him warm, which is technically the opposite of what you want to do, but that is just what is natural.
Yeah, I was like, that's the parenting instinct. That's the nurturing in you. Of course you would want to do that.
Yeah. And so, I felt really guilty in the months after he died for not, keeping him with us and for not spending more time and doing more with him. And it is still hard to know that we could have done more. But I I also think that, we were just trying to take care of his body, and we were trying to take care of him. And I do think that we did that, and, we didn't see him change, which is, a blessing as well. And, we kept him warm. We did keep him warm. He did not feel cold when we said goodbye to him. And so we did the best that we could. Yeah. So, we're in this other room, and my husband was able to get through to someone at one of the funeral homes that sort of seems like they do more of these kinds of things, I guess. They charge, but it's like basically just to cover the cost of things. And, but it was strange because it seemed like the hospital needed to know whether we were going to do burial or cremation before we left. Yeah. And we were like, wait, what? We can maybe pick a funeral home, but how are you going to tell us that we have to pick?
Yeah.
But my husband was actually able to get through to someone at the funeral home, and they were like, no, just put down whatever you want on the paperwork. But don't worry, we're not going to do anything until we sit down and meet with you and everything. Yeah. So that was a little bit of a relief, that we didn't have to figure out that detail yet. So we spent the night there. One thing I forgot to say also is that we did wrap him in the blanket that I made for him. Yeah. So he was in his little outfit that my husband found for him and then wrapped in his blanket. And we were very strict. We were like, do not take the blanket off of him. He has to be kept with the blanket. And so he had that with him when we said goodbye to him too. Yeah. So the next morning I ended up getting discharged, and I think we left pretty early. I think we tried to get out of there around 7 or 8. And came home. Yeah, I don't even really know where to go from there, but our kids were at daycare until, I think we ended up getting them a little bit early that day, but we came home. So it was just the two of us. And then we went and picked them up later in the day.
It is, I don't know about you, but going home was it's terrible. It was just, it was so hard to leave and not have who was supposed to be with you. So
yeah, it was really, really hard. Because of the way that our home is set up, we didn't have a nursery set up. My firstborn son was actually still sleeping in the crib that would have been Levon's. We hadn't transitioned him yet to a big boy bed or whatever. And so I don't know whether to feel grateful for that or not, but there was not the physical signs, I guess, that we had to, we didn't ever have to disassemble a crib or take out a car seat because I hadn't bought it yet. And we didn't have his things taken out yet, just because I was, third time mom, I'll do it at we'll 39 weeks or whatever. Yeah. But it was really hard coming home and not being pregnant and not having him with us anymore. Oh. Yeah.
You went and picked up your kids after that then, after daycare. Did you tell them what had happened?
Yeah. I mean, we told them before that we were going to be going to the hospital and that Levon was going to have to come out of mama's tummy. And I know that we must have told them, that he was born. I don't really remember those conversations. But we're pretty open and straightforward with our kids about Levon died, he was born, he wasn't alive when he was born. We have been pretty black and white in terms of the language that we use to talk about it and everything. Okay. So I know we must have told them, but I just don't have those kind of specific memories.
Yeah.
One thing that was really kind is that we told their daycare when we dropped them off on Monday what had happened. And my friend who had been taking care of them and the teachers at the daycare put together a meal train for us that started that day. Yeah. So starting that day that we picked up our kids, we had food for, I think, about the next 2 weeks, wow. Which was really, really nice, especially just knowing that we don't have family up here and everything.
Yeah. And the bandwidth to make food. You just don't have it in you. So
no, I barely even had an appetite. And I know my husband felt the same, but I mean, the kids definitely still need to eat. Yeah.
Did you finally go in to the funeral home and make decisions about what to do with his body?
Yeah. So on Wednesday, we ended up driving back into Anchorage because the funeral home was there. And at first I was not going to go because I thought it was just going to be signing paperwork. But it was kind of one of those things after he was born. I was like, there's only so many things that I'm going to get to do for him. And so, of course, I'm going to go and I'm going to sign his paperwork.
Yeah.
And so we drove in together and we were sitting at the table from the man who was kind of helping us walk through things. And something just made me start wondering, I wonder if he's here. I wonder if he's here at the funeral home. Because they have a couple of locations. And I don't know. I don't know how they do things. And so I ended up asking. And they said, he is here. And we talked about some other things. And my husband was doing most of the talking, but I just could not get it out of my head. I want to see him. And so I asked my husband, do you think it's a bad idea? Cause I didn't know, maybe he's going to look really different. I'm not sure, but I just felt the urge. I have to see him. And I don't really even care. If he looks different, I want to see him again. And my husband, was like, no, I don't think it's a bad idea. And so we asked, can we see him? And they said yes. And so they told us that they were just going to kind of get him ready for us. And then they were going to, they had a room that they could let us spend time with him in. And kind of before that happened, as we were sort of walking through the paperwork is kind of when we ended up making the decision to have him cremated. Which, I mean, it was a very hard decision, as I know all the parents know. But it's what we decide on because we don't plan on being here forever.
Yeah.
And I just cannot imagine leaving him here.
Yes.
I'm just I'm not going to do that.
Nope.
If we were in our forever place, I could have seen us burying him on our land, but that's not where we're at yet. And I'm not going to leave my son here. So we decided to have him cremated. And so as we're kind of going through the paperwork for that, my husband just sort of ends up asking just one more question, and figures out that you actually can be present for the cremation, which was not something that we had been told, that you can be there for that. And I guess it's something that's traditional and Hindu traditions or something. Oh. But we decided that we wanted to be there when it happened. And so that got scheduled for the following day on Thursday. And so we kind of got all the logistics taken care of, all of that stuff taken care of. And then they told us that he was ready. And so it was a little, corner room. And we walked in and it was a little baby cradle. And he was there inside the cradle, wrapped up in his blanket, his little hat and his little outfit. And he looked really good. He looked honestly the same as he had when we had left him in the hospital, which was really a precious thing. And so we got to spend some more time with him there at the funeral home, which was really special. And we did take a couple more pictures. And so we have a picture of my husband and I's hand, like both on him. And so that's, I guess, the one picture that we have with the three of us. And I'm so glad I asked that he was there. I'm so glad that I asked, can I see him? I'm so glad that we got like a little bit extra time with him there.
Yeah.
So I'm really, really grateful for that. And so then we knew that the next day was going to be the day that he was going to be cremated. And like I said, I'm someone that really likes to make things. And so I decided to, kind of make him, I don't really even know how to describe, like make him some things to kind of send him off.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I made this like little talisman necklace that was made out of fabric that I had dyed with some indigo plants, and I embroidered, some flowers on it, and I filled it with plants from our land. And so that was going to go on his neck. And then we brought some other fabric that I had dyed to wrap him in. And then we also brought a blanket that my son and daughter used when they were infants to wrap him in. And then we picked some flowers from our land as well. And I didn't think that it was probably a good idea for my son to go to the cremation. He is like very active, very like running around. Yeah. And I didn't think that he would, I felt like I would be having to worry about taking care of him and not be able to kind of be present. But my daughter, on the other hand, is, we thought that maybe it would be okay for her to go. And so we asked her if she wanted to go, and she said yes. And so we did end up bringing her with us to the cremation. And we asked her, like, do you want to see him? And she said yes. And so we did, like, hold him and show him to her. And so she got to see her little brother. Good. Yeah. And then my husband kind of took her out while I got Levon ready. And I just, wrapped him in the blankets and put the talisman around his neck and just gave him a couple more kisses and told him how I loved him and how I was really sorry. And then my husband and daughter came in and, it's very strange, but I set him in the cremation thing, and we closed the doors, and we stayed for, they like don't let you stay the whole time because it takes a while.
It takes a while. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but we were there for as long as they let us be there. And then, and then we left.
Okay. Yeah. Did you guys, were you able to pick up the ashes a few days later? And
we actually were able to get them the next day.
Okay.
Yeah. Which was really, nice to be able to have them back so quickly. My husband and I drove down the next day and picked them up together.
Yeah.
Very, very small. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It's crazy.
That is, it is when they're that little 3 pounds, right? 3 pounds.
Yeah.
9 ounces. Yeah. They're just little.
Just a tiny, tiny little ball.
Yeah. I'm assuming since you used the other blankie and the cloth that you were able to take the quilt with you guys, so that okay.
So
that's his quilt.
Yep. So we have his outfit and we have the quilt that I made for him, and I ended up getting a frame for his quilt, and so his quilt is framed and it's right by my bedside table now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. I know. It's like you did it. I was like, I hope you kept that.
Oh yeah. No. We found other stuff to wrap him in that was really meaningful and special, but I wanted to hold on to that.
Yep. You're like, that's the one that we wrapped him up in. And
yes.
Yeah, I got to hold on to that. So
yeah.
Ellie, thank you so much for sharing this beautiful story of Levon and your family. And I'm just so sorry. That is.
Thank you.
I just realized I should have asked you, were they able to figure out what had happened, or anything that might have pointed to something in particular?
So we ended up meeting with an MFM in early July who my midwife had consulted with after he was born. They did all the tests on me. We did not do an autopsy. That was just not something that we were going to be able to do to him. And everything came back normal in terms of my tests and stuff. The MFM, I guess, had I guess a theory, but nothing confirmed about what could have happened. So we did have a little bruise on his belly, and the MFM thought that perhaps there was some, and I don't remember like all the terms and stuff, but something with where his umbilical cord was inserted, that there's, right underneath the skin there's an issue, like there can be an issue with the insertion site.
Oh, okay.
And that you can get blood clots in that area. And that it looks like the bruise is, I mean, he never saw a picture. We never took a picture, but it was described in the report. And then we were able to kind of describe it for him.
Yes. Okay.
But the bruise looked like there had been some kind of blood clot, some kind of thrombosis.
Thrombus. Yeah.
Yeah. And that could have been what led to him dying. So he thought that there might have been some kind of thrombosis that had to do with the insertion of the umbilical cord potentially, because it was in that area. And in my mind, it seems like that could also explain, decreased movement a month before he died, lack of weight gain a week before he died, that essentially, things were working the way that they were supposed to work up to somewhere around 28, 29 weeks. And then maybe he stopped getting as much nutrition, right. I stopped gaining weight. This is not this is not like what the doctor said exactly, but this is how I put all the pieces together in my mind to try to make it make sense. And then, there was a blood clot event that ultimately caused his death.
Yeah.
It is kind of how I piece it all together, but that's kind of the best guess, is that there was this blood clot potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Darn it. You're just like, oh, and it probably just was the way it formed when he formed.
That's kind of what the MFM said, that it was like probably an anatomical anomaly.
Yeah. I am so sorry. It's hard to hear where you're just like, we don't know. And it just, it happened.
Yeah.
It happened the way it did. So.
And I went back and forth. I mean, we were never really considering doing an autopsy, honestly. Mm-hmm. It just was not part of what we were thinking. But then after that meeting with the MFM, it was kind of hard for me to not think, well, if we had done the autopsy, they may have been able to say for sure what it was.
Right.
But the way that I kind of make sense of it is, I still don't want to have put his little body through that. And I can bear that burden of not knowing what happened.
Yeah.
In exchange for him not having to go through that.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with what we decided.
And that's, ultimately that's what, how you feel about that. So that's good.
Yeah.
Ellie, thank you so much for sharing Levon with us. What a delight. And it makes me terribly sad that your children don't get their little brother with them on the earth. And, but thank you so much for sharing him. As we close, is there anything you would like to say about him, or anything we may have missed that I forgot to ask you about?
I think the only thing that I kind of wanted to add is that, in the wake of his death, I felt extremely guilty. I felt, if I hadn't been so busy with work, if I had been more adamant about talking to the midwives about, these things that were popping up into my head as potential concerns, maybe something could have been done. What if an NST had been done the day that I told the midwife, like, he's moving less, you know, and we'll never know that. And it's hard to not feel like, as the mother, it's ultimately your responsibility to keep the baby safe, and that, you know, I didn't do that. And so I struggled a lot with guilt after he was born, and it still comes up. I mean, it's not gone. And I think it will probably be something that I struggle with for the rest of my life to some extent.
Yeah.
And kind of with that, you know, I think for the first 4, 5, 6 months, I really didn't want to feel okay. I didn't want to feel happy.
Yep.
I didn't want to feel good.
Yep.
Because the way that I connected with him after he died and like continued to feel that connection was by feeling sad in a way.
Yep.
I mean, that like going through the grief made me feel close to him. And I think part of me was like, well, what's going to happen if I stop just being totally immersed in grief and sadness? You know, how am I going to feel close to him? And what else am I going to have? Because I never, you know, got to have all the happy memories that you normally get with a baby. And I didn't get to make those kinds of memories with him. But something that I have come to realize is that I will always have love for him, and that I can connect with him by loving him. And it doesn't have to be through sadness, although there's still immense amounts of sadness, of course. But I don't have to cling so tight to feeling like the only way to connect with him is by, you know, sobbing my eyes out, although I still do that.
Yeah.
I can also connect with him by loving him and thinking about him, and because I have those feelings for him too. So that's the only other thing that I wanted to say.
That is wonderful. And we'll probably expound on that a little bit more on the other one as well. So, but Ellie, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing us. Levon Paul. Like, I love that he has that name. It just is such a cool name. So thank you again.
Thank you, Winter.